Hello dear listener, it is time for the VR Shiz show once again. Enjoy what you got right here, right now with your favorite podcast hosts named Richard and Vince.
It is that time of the week, assuming I uploaded this on a regular schedule, which is unlikely, but it is a time of the week for the VR Shiz show.
I mean, at least we're actually recording on the days that we usually record, so there's that.
We do have that.
Yes.
But my schedule has made it so that recent episodes have taken a while to get up.
I was also sick before that, so
yeah, you were like dead. So,
but we're back.
We're back, better than ever.
Relatively the same, I think. Right?
No, better than ever.
Fine, we're back.
I'm imposing this mild standard of quality for us.
I like the fact that there is a standard now. It's just mild as opposed to awful.
Yeah.
We're slowly growing.
I'm raising the bar. Now instead of, being in the ground, it's slightly above the ground. You can still trip on it, but we're getting there. What did you...
Okay, yeah, so I'm Vince.
Oh, see? We're really good.
Yeah.
I will never remember to introduce ourselves, but I'm Richard.
And this is the VR Shiz show.
Pretend. What is it with our
We
brains?
were just reading about Aborigines, remember? I was having a stroke attempting to read about everything that we did. And I think I just passed that on to you. That means that Fred Durst is an Aborigine. It has the same effect. That's canon.
It's canon in our universe that Fred Durst is Aboriginal.
That is my official Fred Durst fact for the week. I don't have to go in any farther than that. He's
all right. So we got the segment done and out of the way.
Yes. I'm sticking to that. By the way, I'm not going to share anything else. I was going to share his net worth, but I decided that's funnier.
All right.
So do you want me to start off for media consumed, or do you want to do it?
You know what? I'll have you start us off for media consumed.
All right, cool beans. I told you that I played Yakuza Like a Dragon.
Yes, you did.
It is fun.
Given how many hours you told me you played, I would hope so.
Yes, that's the game that I played until 7 in the morning. It is, technically speaking, it's the second Yakuza game that I've ever played, because I didn't beat 0 yet, but this is the one that I've played as much as I have. I'm going to go through the whole series.
Wow.
But this one is actually different than the other ones because it's an RPG. It plays as a turn-based RPG, which I was not prepared for when playing the game. I didn't know until after buying the game.
So what are the other ones in the series then?
They're basically like beat-em-ups. They do have RPG elements in them, but like the fights are just like you just overpower your opponent with the craziness that is the Yakuza games.
Yeah, see, all I know about them is that they're about the Yakuza. The Yakuza have, for former members of the Yakuza have reviewed the quality of them, and I see memes from time to time that just confuse me.
I will say that playing the games will not help you in understanding the memes.
All right.
Just laugh at them. But
all right.
So far, I will say I do like all of the characters. This is actually the first Yakuza game that I've played where the English was already set.
Mm-hmm.
Because the other ones, the Japanese was automatically set, and I like the Japanese ones, but I wasn't prepared for the English.
Yeah.
The voice acting is really good.
Mm-hmm.
I'm genuinely enjoying the English for it. A lot of the jokes are hilarious.
I bet.
I think my most memorable scene so far is where you are in this side story, and it's just like one of the side objectives, and you're helping this guy who just recently had a kid, and he's trying to figure out why his wife is not talking to him. And it's because he's been working really hard at work, but he spends no time helping out at home.
Yeah.
So the funny thing is, as funny as the games are, and crazy and over the top, it has some genuinely heartfelt moments. Mm-hmm. There are times where I'm like, man, I did not expect to feel this much in this game. It's the game overall is a gut punch. It's really good. I'm enjoying it. I love the main character. He's very much the anime protagonist.
Yeah.
Because the whole premise is the reason the game plays this way is because the way he sees fights is as if he's playing Dragon Quest. So it's really funny, but it's honestly good. But anyways, going back to this, so he gives this guy advice. You can choose to give him advice how you want, and I try to give people like good, wholesome advice. So I went for the, you need to sit down and talk to your wife. Express your frustrations, but hear hers as well. And then all of a sudden, as you're talking to him, you hear a baby crying. And it sounds like someone is about to give birth, and you're like, oh, we need to, the guy's like, oh, we need to help them, so let's go and like do this. But, impulse, because he has baby at home. He's hearing this, he's panicking, maybe he can help them. And then you go to locate the source of the crying baby. And I saw something that I never thought I would see before. Yeah, I'm pretty sure the meme.
I've seen the memes.
Yes.
And
it is a Yakuza crime boss in a diaper in a cafe where they treat you like babies. That's a real thing, by the way.
Yeah.
Japan
is weird. They have a lot of cafes like that.
Yeah, I mean, they do have maid cafes, and I'm all about that.
Like, I watched, back when I used to listen to the Cox and Crendor podcast a lot more frequently. They have an animated video about the cuddle cafes in Japan.
Look, man, I'm a single man, and I wouldn't say no.
It's expensive, though.
I mean, so are women in general, so it's just the same alley.
Fair enough.
Look, I was just not prepared to see a very, very big bald Japanese man in a diaper, and then you have to fight said man.
Yeah.
But then after everything calms down, he's just like, wait, you thought I was a real baby and you came to save me? Like, that's super wholesome. And he sits down with us. He gives him advice. It's like that scene from Avatar where they put Aang in jail because he's the Avatar.
Yeah.
And they help him out. Like the guys that are sitting in prison with him, they help him out with his troubles with Katara. That's literally the scene. That's all it is. But it's really funny. It's pretty good. I do like the RPG elements. I love the cast. It's ridiculous and over the top.
Oh, I'm sure.
But I'm genuinely enjoying the game, and I know that that's gonna definitely have me go back to the other Yakuza games. I think those ones I'm actually gonna look to stream those on Twitch on like Saturdays.
Nice.
And then see what happens with that. So yeah, good game. Recommend. A lot of fun.
Neat. I may touch those at some point, but
I hope so.
We'll see.
It's in my library now, so
All right. That's all. You're gonna leave it at that?
Yeah.
All right.
So if you ever want to, just
all right. But for my media consumed, I mentioned, all the new TV stuff and everything last week. I mentioned, starting The Mandalorian.
Oh yeah, you
did
give us
a long while ago.
You did give us an update as well, and I was surprised.
Yeah, so I finished season 1 like 2 days ago. And then I finished season 2 yesterday.
That means you powered. Good golly, that's a lot.
It was literally just right after church. Just powered through the rest of the series.
I love the fact that you said yesterday you were going to watch an episode of Tour of Mando. And then I got the text message today, and you're like, I finished the series, and I was like, oh, okay. That was, okay, cool.
Yeah, so what you did with Yakuza, I did with The Mandalorian.
That's fair. You know what? That's fair.
So now that I have seen both of the seasons, and I'm very eagerly awaiting anything else to come, I can give a more fully developed opinion on the show, being very late to the party. So the show is very much a Western. It is a space Western, and it is honestly very, very, very similar to Cowboy Bebop in a lot of ways.
Yeah, that's fair.
It leans more into the Western tropes than I would say Cowboy Bebop does.
Yes.
But there's a lot of similarities, so watching it, I was just seeing a lot of similar character types and situations arise and things like that just felt very familiar, having watched slightly more of Cowboy Bebop. What episode are we on now? Like 10 or whatever? We watched a few episodes.
I think we're on like 12.
We're moving ahead in the world, Vince.
I'm excited. We're going to find time.
We'll
that means we're probably going to watch it in a month and a half again.
Yeah.
honestly.
But anyway, back to The Mandalorian proper. It is so well done. It is exactly what Star Wars has been missing for quite a long time. Because episodes 4, 5, and 6, the original trilogy, fantastic. There's not a whole ton of lore there, though.
Yeah.
The acting is much better than anything that would come after it for the most part. The storytelling is much better than what would come after it for the most part. You get the prequels where you get all of the lore, and it's fascinating and super interesting to learn. And then there's, Hayden Christensen and
I feel bad
George
for him.
Lucas is directing.
Look, man, Hayden did the best that he could.
He could. George Lucas has wonderful ideas. He should just not be the one to implement them into anything.
I just feel bad for Hayden. I'm glad that he's coming back, though.
Yes, for the new Obi-Wan series.
I think he became a farmer, didn't he?
Yeah. It was something like that.
He's literally just Thanos. Mm-hmm. This is what happened. He did his job and then went to live on a farm. Now he's coming back.
Oh, it's that scene from Rogue One with Mads Mikkelsen. Really? Farmer? Man of your talents?
It's the one dessert. Wait, have you seen Clone Wars yet?
I mean, I've seen it, but...
Okay, you need to watch the whole thing now. But there's the...
That's the funniest thing, is that having watched through both seasons, my mom, because I watch it with her, she was just like, well, I don't understand a lot of this. And I'm like, all right, here you go. You're going to watch this.
It's good. It's genuinely good, though. Season 6, I haven't seen season 7 yet. I have to watch it. But season 6 is really heartbreaking, but really good.
Yeah.
Like, it's literally right before Order 66. And the squad that you grow up with in that Star Wars series, the clones. Oh, man. I was like, I was not prepared for the abuse I was going to take from this. Mm-hmm. So I wholeheartedly recommend that. I will have to watch Mando soon.
It is so good, because the point I was getting at is this is the best of everything Star Wars. It has really good lore. Mm. Like, you get to see a lot of different things expand in certain ways. It brings it all in very well, neatly woven in. It's not shoehorning in any garbage like the sequels tried to do.
Yeah.
It's
you had me at like Cowboy Bebop, but more Western.
Yeah.
That's probably next on my list, actually.
Yeah. The only issue is that some of the tropes, if you recognize them, and you're someone like me who really enjoys Westerns, they're so overdone, but because it's Star Wars, it's still fantastic anyway.
Yeah. I mean, they're tropes for a reason. They're not necessarily bad. It's just how they're executed, right?
But it's stuff that I can recognize where, wow, this is definitely very Cowboys and Indians at this moment. And, wow, this is the sheriff, and this is this, and this is that and the other.
But it's still good.
Oh, it's still so incredible. And again, watching it on the stupid 4K TV that I paid too much for, and with the sound bar, just like feeling the sound that way.
You really felt like the Mandalorian?
I felt
like the Mandalorian.
I really felt like the Mandalorian.
Yeah, it's good. It's good.
As IGN would put it.
You felt... You had all of the exaggerated swagger of a Mandalorian?
Yes. Yes, but it's so great because it brings in just so much of the Star Wars universe.
That's the other thing. One of the other reasons why I would recommend watching the Clone Wars, because they actually delve into the Mandalorian lore a lot as well.
Yes, it brings in a lot of Clone Wars into the Mandalorian, which is why my mom was confused for some of it, and when I saw certain things, I'm just like, ooh, hype. The thing I will say that is a sour note is how it ends season 2. I am just so confused as to what they're going to do with it. Because spoilers for the series, the end of season 2, but it's been memed all the way across, which is how it wasn't even a surprise to me, but it doesn't really change it. Any of the spoilers for the series don't really matter, because it's just a good story about characters. Yeah. So any of the story beats that you hear don't really matter. But again, spoiler if you do care. Luke comes in at the end.
Okay, yeah, I heard about that.
Yes, for his...
I was wondering, like, our group chat was talking about that, and I was like, what?
So they bring him in. So The Mandalorian takes place between episode 6 and 7.
Yeah.
And for those of you who watched the garbage of the sequel trilogy, and how you learn that Luke has a Jedi Academy, this is kind of him building that, so to speak, where he recruits the child that the Mandalorian is caring for. What they do with that, I have no idea what's going to happen, because it sets up a lot of interesting things that could potentially happen.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not sure how well it's going to handle them. Like, they've handled everything incredibly well thus far, but it seems the first season gave them confidence. The second season may have given them overconfidence.
Oh gosh, is it gonna Rick and Morty itself?
Perhaps. I hope not. But the other thing that was awful is that because it's between episodes 6 and 7, it's not old Luke. So Mark Hamill comes in, and they de-age him, and he looks good up until he starts speaking. And then it's like you're watching a Godzilla film, because...
Well, that depends. Which Godzilla film?
The first.
Okay, I thought you were talking...
where the dub does not match the mouth in the slightest.
Oh yeah, fun fact about the dub for the Godzilla. Just to do that.
Yeah.
In the original American version, they actually cut out 40 minutes of the movie, and then they dub in a lot. And then what they did was to make it more appealing to American audiences, because we didn't want to seem like the bad guy, because obviously Godzilla is a representation of America using its nuke against Japan. They put in Raymond Burr. And they just kind of cut him and edited him into some scenes. And it looked really awkward.
Yeah, so, that's what they did with Luke. Because they bring him in and his mouth moves, and then the words just don't quite match up with what his lips are doing. And it's... Because I know a lot of people will complain about de-aging CG. And it can be hit or miss sometimes. It looked good. Mm-hmm. Like I said, I was like, wow, that looks great. And then he started speaking. I'm like, wow, you should have just kept him silent.
Or if you're going to have him talk, don't show his face.
Yeah.
That's easy, too.
But, so I'm interested and intrigued as to where they're taking it.
Yeah.
The end also teases, again, another spoiler for it, but that's been memed again, is Boba Fett coming back in The Mandalorian.
That's the one that I've heard, yeah.
They're doing a Mandalorian, or it is a spin-off of The Mandalorian with Boba Fett.
Yeah.
That I'm very excited to see. Tamura Morrison is fantastic as Boba Fett. So, yeah. Been watching that.
It's older Boba.
Yes,
because
because it is after episode 6.
But is it the original actor?
It's the original... Well, no, the original actor for Boba Fett died recently.
Rip.
Yep. He's great. But for... The movie, I don't know what I'm trying to say. For The Mandalorian, they got Tamura Morrison, who played Jango Fett.
There we go. That's why I was like, I know he's one of the Fetts. I just don't remember.
He played Jango Fett, and because Boba Fett is a clone of Jango Fett,
yeah,
it's real easy to just say, yeah, this is him.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because it's the same guy.
That's fair.
But yeah, they do so many wonderful, wonderful things with that series, and it feels so reverent of Star Wars lore rather than just spitting on it like Episode 8 did, and not clinging to it for dear life like Episode 7 did, and like Episode 9 did.
I will say that the best part about the new trilogy is Adam Driver.
Yes.
Kylo Ren is fantastic. It's
Everyone was crapping on him in episode 7. I'm like, no, his character could be interesting. And then they didn't do any of the interesting things that I wanted them to.
But he did really good with what he had.
Yes. The other thing is, the dude who played Finn in the sequels totally sidelined. Because...
Yeah, I remember.
Because Disney wants that Chinese audience, and mainland China don't exactly got a whole lot of black people, and those that they do got, they aren't fond of.
Yeah, I was going to say, China is racist. Why would they put them with the...
Oh yeah, they still segregate blacks in China.
Blacks are not allowed in McDonald's in China.
Oh yeah. That was my favorite thing, is it's McDonald's Twitter saying, oh yeah, we stand up for Black History Month or whatever, and then it cuts to an image of blacks are not welcome in this establishment.
Yeah.
So
it's a real thing that people forget about, but we're not here to get political.
No, we're here to crap on China.
And we're here to get directorial so we can get into
Ha! What a transition. Segment. We're so good at this.
That is probably our best transition, honestly.
Yes.
So, speaking of which, we are talking about favorite directors today.
Yes.
Do you want to start us off, or do you want me to start?
I mean, I can connect it to The Mandalorian. To be fair, I might go a little long, because I have a lot of directors bubbling around in my mind. So, with The Mandalorian, the interesting thing they do is have a bunch of different guest directors.
Yeah.
It's all written and done mostly by Jon Favreau with a lot of Dave Filoni, who did The Clone Wars and Avatar. Mm-hmm. So it's fantastic in that regard, which is one of the reasons why it's turned out so well, is because, wow, what happens when you have good directors and writers? Miracles. But they do have a lot of guest directors come in. So I know they had Bryce Dallas Howard come in to direct an episode.
That name sounds so familiar.
The redhead from Jurassic Park.
Okay.
Or Jurassic World.
Okay. Wait, really?
She came in to direct, and the episode was fine, and I'm like, all right, cool. I didn't know you could direct.
That's interesting. Well,
yeah.
Good for her. That's cool.
Yes.
I liked her character, too.
Yes. But, so they have a bunch of different guest directors, and yet the whole series feels very seamless.
Yeah, it doesn't.
So it's very much
like
being
different directors
spearheaded by Jon Favreau. So.
He is very much the unsung hero of, I would say, currently like a lot of our childhood stuff.
He's such a fantastic director. I mean, from Elf, which people forget that he did.
Yeah.
And then they don't know that, oh, he's also the guy who kickstarted everything with Marvel.
Yep.
He's the one who did
universe.
Iron Man, the Iron Man 2, right?
I think he did all three.
I think so. But he was the one who directed those, got the whole Marvel Cinematic Universe going, worked with that, with so much of it. So he's incredible. But I wouldn't say that he's number one for me. He's great.
No, he's fantastic. Yeah.
Although Mad Max is my favorite movie series, George Miller, he's an incredible director, but he's still not my favorite.
Okay.
He's also directed, Babe and Babe 2, Pig in the City.
Yes.
He's also directed Happy Feet.
Yeah.
And my favorite quote about that is, if he was held at gunpoint and told to come up with another script for Happy Feet, he said, "Shoot me." Which is just how much he enjoyed that movie.
Yeah, which is kind of funny when considering that they had made a second one, but I'm sure they just used somebody else for it.
He relinquishes some control on some things, because for Mad Max Thunderdome,
yeah,
which is the third film, he was very loosely tied to it. Basically, all of the good parts of that movie were written and directed by him. And the rest was directed by another man who they got in, because it was originally going to be a Lord of the Flies movie that they just kind of threw Mad Max into.
Oh, that explains a lot, actually.
And because he was still mourning the death of his one of his friends at the time, one of his best friends who helped him with the first two Mad Max movies, he was just not really there for it. So he really only directed the action sequences, and that was basically it. Which is why the action sequences in that movie are good, and the story and writing are not nearly as much so.
Yeah.
Reading the trivia about that movie is insane. Freaking Tina Turner, man. Garbage. But he doesn't really have a unique style of directing.
He doesn't, like, there are certain directors where you can kind of like, is it what's his name?
And that brings me to one of my favorite directors. He may take number one, but he's for sure up there, at least top two, is Wes Anderson.
Yes. You were talking about this.
He has directed Moonrise Kingdom. He directed Fantastic Mr. Fox. He did Isle of Dogs. He's done, Grand Budapest Hotel. So he has a lot under his belt. But the thing about him is his directing style is very unique.
Yes.
That's what I love to see, is when I can tell that this has a different flair to it. Like I've noticed with Edgar Wright, since we just watched Hot Fuzz, and having seen Baby Driver and all of that.
Yep.
His directing style is very quick and punchy in how he directs scenes and how they move and how they flow.
Yeah.
With Wes Anderson, almost everything in his films is symmetrical. He shoots the films with a very visually focused scene that things are symmetrical, things play out in a very picturesque way as though the scenes are almost paintings. He works with color in very unique ways, especially with things like Grand Budapest Hotel. But his stop motion movies like Fantastic Mr. Fox and Isle of Dogs are so beautifully made because it's controlled down far more than, how you can control an actor in a scene kind of a thing. But his directing style is so fantastic. So well done, his movies are. But what was I going to say? Oh, I remember. Which leads me to a different style of director, which is Denis Villeneuve, who has done a couple movies, and I'm very much looking forward to what is coming out from him. It's supposed to have already been released, but it's been delayed because of the wonderful world we live in.
Yep.
He did Arrival, which is when the aliens come down and they teach them sign language or whatever.
Yeah.
That movie is very interesting. He also did Blade Runner 2049.
That makes sense, actually. Okay, now I understand the connection.
He has a directing style that is very slow and deliberate, as opposed to someone like Edgar Wright, who is very quick and punchy.
Yeah.
He draws things out, which is why I really am looking forward to how he does Dune, which is not a sci-fi movie in the same vein as Blade Runner. Blade Runner has action, but it's a very slow, drawn-out film, and that's why it, unfortunately, didn't do as well at the box office as I would have hoped for, as it deserved to have done.
Yeah, a lot of people nowadays are not very much into that.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
He faithfully made a sequel 30 years after the original, which is something you basically never get done. And it feels like right there, it's the next movie. And it is so incredibly faithful, in kind of in that same way The Mandalorian is. But even The Mandalorian doesn't feel like a sequel because it's not. But it feels a part of that universe, but it's definitely different. This just feels like you're watching the next movie in the series, and it's just nice in 4K instead of a lower resolution watching it on a VHS.
Is that how you feel about Fury Road as well? Or is that
not even Fury Road does that as well as
okay.
Blade Runner 2049 did for me.
Okay.
And so he remained faithful to the original Blade Runner in that it is slow. But that movie originally was slow because they built giant models and they wanted to show them off. He does the same thing.
Yeah.
And it's like, this is beautiful, but this is not going to succeed with the mainstream audience.
Nope.
Denis, what are you doing? I love you, but you do have to appeal to the mainstream. The movie is so long, it could have had some fat trimmed, so to speak. But his directing style, I just love so much, of taking time to tell the story. Because Arrival is the same thing. It's not a quick movie.
Yeah.
We're taking our time to build up so that the moments that hit have such a weight to them. And so, again, I'm so hyped for Dune. It looks like such a good movie. And it's part 1 of 2, apparently, as they're doing the first half of the book in this one and then doing a second half. Hopefully they're doing a second half, because hopefully Warner Brothers doesn't screw them over like they tried to with George Miller, which is the reason it's taken so long to get another Mad Max movie, because Warner Brothers promised him an extra $100 million bonus if he came in under budget, which he did, except for the fact that Warner Brothers requested very specific things that pushed him over budget. He's like, hey, I went in under budget. You were the guys who asked and demanded for these specific things that push me over budget. So, Warner Brothers loves its directors. But yeah. Ya move, boyo. Okay,
perfect. I actually just found out some really cool things and things that made me sad about one of my favorite directors. So I'm going to just go with 3.
All right.
Really quick. One of them, because I've talked about the movies that he's made, but his name might not ring a bell until I say the names of the movies.
Mm-hmm.
First one that that came to mind was Neil Blomkamp.
Oh, yeah.
We watched District 9 together.
He is another guy with a very unique directing approach.
Exactly. A lot of his movies are very heavily social commentary, especially because he's a South Africaner.
Yeah.
His movies are fantastic because they say what they need to say, but they're not overly preachy.
Yes.
Which is one of the reasons why I love them. I think it's the perfect way to mesh what he does. It's a very good way to mesh politics with art and style.
Yes.
The dude is a fantastic director. He did District 9, he does Chappie, and he also does Elysium. Elysium is the only one of those 3 that I have not seen.
Same. He's also, again, I think we mentioned this before, he's doing Halo.
Yes. Okay, so that was the one thing that we had talked about. Initially, because you were just talking about the way that, companies treat their directors.
Oh, this is what's going on with Halo.
Yeah, so 20th Century Fox got him to... Peter Jackson was the guy that was funding it. Weirdly enough, it was Peter Jackson.
Interesting.
And 20th Century Fox, and they came to Neil Blomkamp, and they were like, we want you to do the Halo movie. When I figured that out, I was like...
I thought it was a series.
No, they want to turn it into a movie series.
Okay.
Which, regardless, if Neil is the one heading it, I'm excited. Because that guy's fantastic.
Yeah.
But the relations between 20th Century Fox and Blomkamp are less than favorable. He still expresses interest. But what had happened was, it was during the time around District 9 was getting created.
Yeah.
And when it fell through, Peter Jackson's like, well, I saw that one short that you did. I think it's called One Night in Johannesburg or something like that, which is basically the groundwork for District 9. And he's like, cool. And then it proceeded to win a huge amount of awards.
Yeah.
So, he did really, all things considered, he did fantastic, which I think is great. I did find this out. So, I don't know, have you seen, how many of the Alien movies have you seen?
I've seen Alien and Aliens.
Okay, keep it that way.
Yeah, that's what I've been told, and I intend to. I heard Prometheus
is fine.
Fine.
That's it.
Yeah.
That is the only thing I will say about that movie. But what
funnily enough, I do own a steelbook copy of Alien 3.
Oh.
On Blu-ray.
Don't ever watch it.
I'm not. I'm just going to keep it framed and say, wow, doesn't that look nice?
2 things, though, which I'm very excited about. And I think you and I might possibly be interested in. Mm-hmm. But, okay, so, 1, turns out that they didn't like the things that Ridley Scott did with Aliens.
Oh, yeah.
And initially, Neil Blomkamp was supposed to direct a sequel. But as a sequel to the original Aliens. Yeah. And have Sigourney Weaver come back.
All right.
But then they gave it to Ridley Scott, and then when it did badly with Covenant, I have the Blu-ray
for reasons unknown.
I have the Blu-ray of that, and I still have not seen it. I as much as awful as those movies are, I still want to watch the other ones just because I want to see for myself.
Yeah.
Because I love the series so much, even if it hurts, I want to see it.
Yeah.
I'll be disappointed, but I'll understand. The thing is, he got canned last minute. That's why we have Covenant. But the thing is, a lot of people have been doing petitions to bring that back.
Yeah.
They want Neil Blomkamp to direct an Aliens movie, which, again, I am all for. I just found out one thing right now. So, they slated him before the pandemic happened, before the COVID.
Mm-hmm.
He was supposed to direct a RoboCop movie.
Interesting.
And it was going to ignore the remake and RoboCop 2 and 3.
Oh,
it was going to be a direct remake.
That's
a
good.
direct. But because of the COVID, I think that the project ended up falling through. But
lame.
I know, I'm so sad. I'm like, he always gets so close, and then like something happens, and then it never gets there. But I did hear this, which I'm very, very much excited for.
Mm-hmm.
It's revealed last month, actually,
all right,
that Blomkamp had secretly shot a supernatural horror film in British Columbia during the summer of 2020.
I did hear this.
You don't understand. You know how much of a horror fan I am.
Yeah,
I'm very much a big horror fan.
I did hear that he had shot a secret horror project,
dude.
But I had entirely forgotten about it until this moment.
I'm pretty sure I'd read about it some other time.
Because I thought I told you about it like a long while ago. I told you, hey, Neil Blomkamp's making a thing that
I think it's when we were watching District 9, if I'm not mistaken, which was months ago.
Yeah.
Which, again, I should have known. But I'm like reading that again, I'm like, oh my gosh. Horror, which is probably my favorite genre, just because it's one of the things that I share with my brother, and I love dissecting the genre as a whole.
Yeah.
And then 2, Neil Blomkamp, probably one of my top 3 favorite directors. I'm very excited for that. So I'm hoping that comes out soon. I'm going to buy it. My brother and I are going to watch it. I'm going to critique the crap out of it because I love it so much. So yeah, I love Neil Blomkamp. The first time I messed up his name. I think he is absolutely incredible as a director.
Yes.
I love his directing style. I love the way that I don't necessarily agree with all of the politics that he talks about, but
yeah,
he does it in a way that to me is still very respectful and really good.
Yes.
The next guy I'm going to talk about, I love the fact that you and I have this really different, the directors that we enjoy are completely different for the most part.
Yes.
Although I do love Wes Anderson 100%. I haven't seen, Blade Runner 2049 yet, so I know this is.
Have you seen the original Blade Runner?
Yes, I have.
Okay, then you have no excuse.
I know, I will soon. But and then I do really, really love Edgar Wright. We were actually talking about him, and I got to talk to you about some of the other movies that he's done. Which my favorite is the Cornetto trilogy, which is The World's End, Shaun of the Dead, and Hot Fuzz. Mm-hmm. But here's another one that I don't think you know, but still, David Ayer.
No, I know David Ayer.
So, but you haven't seen the movies that I talked about. That's the thing.
Probably not.
Okay, so he's done Training Day, the first Fast and Furious, SWAT, Street Kings, which...
I've seen SWAT.
As awful as Street Kings is, I love that movie.
Yeah.
It's with Keanu Reeves and Terry Crews. Mm-hmm. Still one of my favorite movies. It's awful, but it's like dumb awful.
Yeah.
Where you just love the movie.
Yeah.
End of Watch. Have you seen the cop movie, The End of Watch?
No.
It's with Jake Gyllenhaal and Michael Pena. I
don't think so.
You haven't seen this one, but he did Fury. Fantastic war movie. Pretty sure you're not gonna like this one. Suicide Squad.
He did that?
Look, man, say what you want about Suicide Squad. It was different than anything else that DC was doing. And I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it because it was a different direction.
In my mind, I just imagine anytime someone says Suicide Squad, I think of Crocodile just scrambling into the water, doing that stupid little squat run.
Yeah, that's fair.
That movie it's not good. It has a lot of problems.
It does, and it's very prevalent what a lot of those problems are, but I did like the fact that he decided to not nullify it. And by nullifying it, I'm talking about Christopher Nolan, where everything has to be dark and depressing. Yeah. I like the fact that he tried something different.
He could have done it better, though.
But we also know it's not just his fault.
True.
It was also everything that the studio was doing, which is why Jared Leto got shafted hard, too, unfortunately.
Oh, yeah,
He tried, man. He tried, but unfortunately they gave him garbage. Yes. But the thing I will say is his strongest movies are the ones that actually do have to deal with crime in LA.
Yeah.
Which is Training Day, Street Kings, and End of Watch.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to watch 2 very good movies about him, from him, watch Training Day, which is the critically acclaimed movie that pretty much everyone at the Academy loved, and it's not one of those like the common man's like, this movie is awful. Everyone pretty much agreed, like, wow, this movie is fantastic.
Yeah,
it is Ethan Hawke's best role to date, because Ethan Hawke is not a good actor, but he was great in that movie. I love Ethan Hawke; he's one of my favorites. But I will acknowledge, I think a potato could outact him. He's like a subdued Nicolas Cage.
Oh boy.
Which sounds awful, right? But that's pretty much the way I would... Like, if Nicolas Cage was checked out just also with personality, that's what he would be.
Mm-hmm.
And then Denzel Washington's fantastic in that movie. Fury is fantastic. You and I will... That is the movie that I told you that we are going to have to sit down and watch together.
Yeah.
Fury is absolutely incredible. Someone once complained to me that it's like, it's not that much story. I'm like, it's set in World War II, and it's about tanks. It's literally about a tank crew fighting each other during this time. So it's one of those things that it's like, the story is there. It's literally just about the crew's relationship with each other as they're fighting the final push into Germany.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of it, like I said, a lot of his stylistic stuff is the action scenes are very, very heavy. They're very brutal and realistic for the most part, except for, the liberties that he took with Suicide Squad. If you watch his earlier stuff, a lot of that stuff hits really hard. A lot of it's dramatic.
Yeah.
But it feels like there's weight to the drama. It's not like the Jeff the Killer thing where there's just drama for the sake of having drama because you think that adds to the story, but it's just poorly written garbage. That was the first thing that came into my mind. I'm sorry.
I love that's where your mind went. That's probably worrying, but also wonderful.
And then the last director that I think I'm going to talk about. Man, I pulled up his Wikipedia page, but then I accidentally deleted it when I was talking.
Who did you have in mind?
I just drew a blank.
What movies?
I'm trying to... Hold on, give me a second.
You're just like, I had this guy, he made some movies.
No, I went through like... The awful part is I went through like 50 movies right now, so my brain has to reset, because I'm like, Neil Blomkamp and all of the stuff he did. Oh. I just remembered. Let me look him up. He's only done 2 movies.
All right.
But...
It's Fred Durst.
I think Fred Durst has only done 2 movies, but no, it's not Fred Durst. Actually, no, he's done more. I had mentioned earlier that I really, really, really love horror movies.
Yeah.
It's my favorite genre. So therefore, I have to talk about my favorite horror film director, Ari Aster. Ari Aster.
You have mentioned it.
I have mentioned it to you. I am really sad that I just found out that he did a movie that is absolutely disgusting to me. But the ones that everyone else knows him for, which are the ones that anyone only ever cares about. Look, thank God that was a short film. There's a movie that he did that I didn't know he did until right now. Mm-hmm. He is the director and writer for, which makes me sad and makes me think that he wrote the other 2 as a I'm sorry for writing this piece of absolute garbage called The Strange Thing About the Johnsons. If you have not heard about this movie, let me just... Pretty sure...
With that glowing review...
No, pretty sure that I can't even put into words. It's weird. Pretty sure that in the movie, the son, the guy who's playing the son of this family, has sex with his dad, if I remember correctly. I didn't watch the movie, but I watched a review on it, and that's all I needed to watch. But besides that one blemish on his otherwise very good record, thank God it was a short film, because I don't count that towards his overall count.
All right.
He did 2 movies, one after the other. He did Hereditary.
Okay.
And he did Midsommar.
Yes.
Now, he is very big. His directing style is very much, the story is there. If you pay attention to what's going on in the scenes, you can figure out the story like that. But he hides it in a way that it just seems so natural that unless you're paying attention and looking for those things, you do not figure that out until the gut punch at the end. He's very much, what's it called? He researches very heavily into paganistic rituals and things like that, but he adds a semblance of realism to the things that are going on.
All right.
To tell his stories. Like Hereditary is very, very good because it has to deal with family drama. The overall, the horror of it is good. Like it's the overall, like, it has to deal with like a family curse, and they're trying to bring back a king of hell, and that's the quotations that I'm putting in, the king of hell, Paimon,
All right.
which is the one that's what I realized. Everyone that writes about a king of hell, they always use Paimon. There's like 6 other kings according to the Lesser Key of Solomon. I'm like, those guys don't get used. That's sad. But the thing is, the most gut-wrenching aspect of that film, the most uncomfortable aspect about that film, is literally the family stuff. Because it deals with grief.
Yeah.
And the grief feels so realistic that when the horror comes, it feels so much worse. It hits so much harder because you're going through the grieving with this family, that when the actual, like, demonic stuff and everything else come with it, you're just like, oh my god, not only are they mourning, they're also dealing with all of this other awful stuff. And it just feels like a family that's so fractured that when they start fighting back, it's too late.
Yeah.
And that is the biggest weight of it, because you're like, they could have saved themselves, but they were hurting so much and they were missing all of the crazy stuff going on that it's too late for them, unfortunately. So it's a very brutal, heartbreaking movie. One of my favorite. I could do without the naked old people. Was not prepared to see that with my brother. And then Midsummer, which I personally prefer over Hereditary. My brother liked Hereditary over Midsummer.
I think we talked about this for your media consumed a while back.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I know you're not a big fan of horror, but if you want to see something that's very well directed, that is just overall a fantastic movie, Midsummer. It is very uncomfortable to watch. It does not shy away from paganism and things like that. Like the other, like what you see in more backwards societies, for the lack of a better term. Yeah. But it's also about respecting their rituals and stuff like that. Like, if you don't understand it, don't mess with it either. Yeah. But a fun fact about that specific movie, about Midsummer, is when it was shown to people in, was it Sweden? Because I think that's where it was based in. They laughed. Because it to them, it's considered a dark comedy.
All right.
Because it takes one of their holidays, but it ups the ante of those things. Now, Ari paid a lot of respect to some of the ancient traditions found in that land, but he also meshed that with the overall story. But to them, they're just like, yeah, no, that doesn't happen. We just get high. Like, that's pretty much what most Swedes said about the movie. But to American audiences, and one of the reasons why I find it so effective is because that movie also has to deal with grief, but it has to deal with grief and isolationism, but how dangerous acceptance can be when you don't realize it's at the hands of a cult. Because the main character, she slowly starts to get accepted, and a lot of people are like, this is a really good ending. But when you look at it psychologically, and you look at the whole movie and everything that happens, you realize, oh my god, they might have done everything that kickstarted the plot from beginning to end to break her to the point where she's finally happy and feels loved, not realizing that it's basically an abusive relationship. And a lot of people are like, this is a good ending. She's happy. She's this. She's redeemed from all of these garbage friends. But when you look at it like from that perspective, you're like, oh my god, the movie tricks you into thinking this is a good ending, when in reality, she got out of one relationship that was awful into a completely different, but just as awful, if not more, horrifying relationship. Oof. So it's really good. You know that for me personally, I love storytelling. Yeah. The storytelling aspects of those things, especially when it deals with grief and everything else, I think it's fantastic. I would recommend it to anybody. If you don't, I will say that if you're listening to this and you find, you know, the concepts of paganism and demonism uncomfortable, or you find just genuine family trauma uncomfortable, to where it's like a trigger to you, for the lack of a better term, don't watch it. Because it is something that will very much like, it will unsettle you. Like I said, Midsummer, there were some scenes.
So it's not an uncomfortable that you should experience, it's an uncomfortable that you can experience.
It's yes, it is.
Because I will say, there are some movies that you watch that are uncomfortable and you're like, oh gosh, I'm glad I watched this, but I never want to see it again.
Ooh, I would put Midsummer in that. There's one specific scene. I'm going to spoil this one. Because I would like everyone else to skip it. Her boyfriend that comes with her, he gets drugged.
Okay.
Because one of the girls in the village fancies him. And this girl in the village knows that he's dating the main character, but she doesn't care. She wants him. So she drugs him, and the drug basically makes you susceptible to suggestion, but also puts you in a very lucid state. And because they live in this area and it's the bounty of the harvest, she wants to have a child. So there is something that is done to this person, and Ari does not shy away from it. I fast forwarded through that because one, again, nudity, and two, the whole concept and understanding of what's going on is very uncomfortable, and to know that happens, and he doesn't even fully realize what's going on. I'm just like, that is awful on so many accounts. His name is also Christian. So his name is
symbolism.
Oh no, the symbolism is crazy heavy. So the things that you see happen, like you understand what's going on, but it's more a dig at the cults. Yeah. Because it's things that she gives up to get into this area. Yeah. But it's very, I will say that part was like, I need to skip this because this is making me very uncomfortable. Yeah. But it's not like I said, it's not like the whole like, I'm going to put this in for shock value. It all meshes cohesively, and it's just like, for me personally, I'm probably never going to watch Midsummer again. I told one of my friends about it, and she's like, dude, let's watch it together. And I was like, no. I'm good. She's like, why? And I'm like, because there's this one scene that I will never be able to live with myself if I watch it with you. If you can stomach these issues, I would recommend watching it. But you could go on the rest of your life without watching it. I still think he's a fantastic director. His movies are very much gut punches, but very, very well-timed punches. Yeah. Because it hits you in areas that are very uncomfortable for us as a society to speak about. We hate speaking about our family issues. We hate speaking about the way that sometimes we get manipulated and broken. Yeah. And how to cope. Yeah. And those movies both deal with that stuff. And I found out that he also is directing another movie, and it's coming out, I think, this year. Nice. I'm very happy about that, but I'm probably never going to watch that movie as well ever again after it comes out. Yeah. Apparently it's called Beau is Afraid.
Yeah. I mean, there's movies like that you watch. It's like, wow, this is fantastic. I really never want to witness this ever again.
Oh. Okay. Aster stated that his next film will be a 4-hour nightmare comedy. Given the name Beau is Afraid. And apparently, the person that they're talking to lead that movie is Joaquin Phoenix.
All right.
That is going to be the longest movie I've ever watched. But I'm going to watch it. Now I have no excuse to not watch any movie that you tell me. Yeah. Because I'm going to watch that 4-hour epic. Yeah. And probably enjoy it.
I know, go to the Hateful Eight extended edition, dude.
I'm going to have to watch it now. But yeah, right. I probably went ham on that section. Sorry.
Nah, we're good.
Ari.
We're good.
What time is it right now?
We've gone on for 54. We got longest episode yet, which means this audio, unless I did the thing and fixed it. I'm hoping that what I did fixed it. This is going to be real crackly on your end on that mic. So.
Yeah, big sad. But I think it's just because we're both passionate about movies in completely different ways. Yeah. So hopefully we'll be able to get to do this a different time, but we'll only pick like 2 each.
We should probably just do it like from now on, just one director that we just talk about.
Yeah, and we can talk about our favorite movies and why they are from that director.
Yeah. So we will end it on that note. Thank you for listening.
Yeah, we will see you guys next week. Don't worry, we actually made topics ahead of time, so we'll be slightly more prepared, which is not to say much.
Mild quality.
Yeah.
Mild.
This is 2021 is our character arc of growth, right?
Yeah. We're no longer like digging deeper into the hole. We're actually like trying to get out of it.
We're trying to build stairs out of the dirt we just put in.
Yeah.
Luckily in the 2022 arc, I'd probably die, so that'll be cool.
All right.
Yeah. I'm going to be really sad if that
If Vince predicts his own death, I'm going to be sad, but also amazed.
Yeah, it's a meme till the end, right?
Yeah.
Just talked about a horror director. That's where we're going. All right, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Bye.